Indeed, we are kicking off our spring fundraiser for Urban Arts as well soon, just as the racers kick off their race here. It's going to be skipping the cutscene and moving through the Cap Kingdom. So, of course, it's going to be pretty tight from here through most of the early game. It's going to be very small differences, and it'll be things like left side potentially. Like PsioNick has a 60% success rate with the trick. BusterDoggy 80%. BusterDoggy's hit it one more time than PsioNick has. So we'll see what happens here if there's any kind of differences in terms of small mistakes like that.
Absolutely. And when you have PBs this close together, that's where like the runners have to change their mentality, where they're going to be doing things that are more comfortable to them. So the safer strats, the higher, I'm sorry, the lower risk, the higher reward strats versus the opposite, the higher risk, low reward. So I don't know. I go through this every time that I commentate, particularly an SMO match. Now, Dry, what do you think? If you're in one of these guys' positions, are you watching the other racer at the same time?
It's definitely a tough choice to make, and I mean, I would watch during I would check in rather. I would check in after every kingdom or so, but I'm not going to try to watch because that may distract me from my gameplay. But I think it is good to know where your opponent is just in terms of being able to change your strategy, whether you need to play more aggressively or non-aggressively, or say, okay, he missed that trick, so I necessarily don't have to go for that. And Buster Doggy here going for the roll boost vault left side is going to connect, and that's going to give him a slight lead over Cyan heading into the top of the fight.
And I think that's what we're going to see throughout this race is like those small optimizations, right? So the spin versus that tiny little long jump um, give less than a second advantage here, but I mean seconds add up over a run that lasts an hour. So I think we're going to continue to see those where Buster Doggy is going to attempt those slightly faster optimizations, um, where Psionic is going to kind of change the game a little bit. Are going to be things like chest clip, getting DSS because Buster Doggy does or has not been doing DSS, but now we saw at the beginning set up for DSS. So yeah,
Yeah,
Saren calling me out. It's fine. Forgive you.
but yeah, this will be the first DSS attempt from Buster Doggy throughout the league, so it'll be exciting to see him kind of debut that route. Um, First moon, pretty standard stuff for the runners, but yeah, I'm very excited to see how the small things are going to add up on the side of each of these runners, as well as the compounding mistakes is something I talk about a lot when commentating this game, is the small things that kind of mess up your movement from one spot to another, and it just creates a lot more time loss than you might initially expect.
It really does, and it plays into your like mentality as a runner. Um, I've said it time and time again when you're just doing resets on your home stream, it's not a big deal. Like, hey, I made a mistake. All right, I'll reset. I'll start over. But in a race situation, you have to be able to mentally say, okay, I made a mistake and not let it affect, the next strats that you're trying to pull off.
Yeah, the mentality is super important in these races. It's definitely part of being a good racer as opposed to just a good speed runner. I mean, this boss fight, it's a small input kind of thing. It's kind of a little specific. Once you get it, though, it's pretty straightforward, and I don't expect too much issue with these runners or unhanding Madame Brutal.
And that's where, SMO in particular, like the movement is just very smooth. And, these types of boss fights where you're setting up like a particular sequence of events to happen, um, it's very smooth. It's not clunky at all. Pointing to some of the other speed games, the movement is not that way. Like you're more like SM64, you're more relying on like angles and wall kicks and things like that. Whereas SMO, you're more either setting up the particular fight or you're comboing those jumps to get to where you need to go, or those inputs, including buffering those inputs.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more flexible and athletic game, I guess you could say, in terms of just differentiating movement. SM64, it's kind of there's a specific way to do everything, whereas SMO, you have a little more flexibility in the angles that you hold and things like that.
Exactly. As we see flexibility being flexed right now between BusterDoggy and PsioNick. PsioNick going for chest clip here. BusterDoggy electing to go up top, but it looks like it paid off for BusterDoggy, being slightly ahead. PsioNick having just a little bit of issue getting into that area to trigger the cutscene, or to get the cap up and trigger the cutscene, and it definitely has paid off for BusterDoggy at this point.
Yeah, that dive down into the water underneath, of course, it's not death as the water extends underneath the Odyssey, but it is still gonna not cash in any time save for going for that harder strat, though it did end out successful.
Now going into sand, for me, it's been quite a long time since I've ran this game, but sand was kind of like the first test of what we just talked about, of that movement, right? So you've got a lot of very quick inputs that are happening, starting with a spin pound into a roll just to get up to the very first moon. Um, and it's pretty much nonstop, right? The only stopping time you have is when you grab the moon, and you could take a second to breathe. But sand really is kind of that first test for me of like a runner's aptitude, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, a lot of these small things, there's so many mechanical differences that go into these strats that you might not initially see, and we're going to see the shot moon first from both of these runners. Going for a reverse town, meaning that we'll see the triple jump up into the bird rather than the sub area.
Exactly 3 seconds apart right now. BusterDoggy not having a problem with DSS. Sonic right behind him. Yeah, so we're looking at about a 3 second. Oh, commentator's curse there. Sonic taking a nice little bonk, widening that gap between BusterDoggy and PsioNick.
Yeah, and it's things like that that I mentioned, small mechanical minutia that don't seem to be very hard in a moment, but when you're kind of really looking at it and checking out the inputs for yourself, it's gonna be really tough. And there, BusterDoggy just not
Oh,
able to get the triple jump up on the moon. He's gonna do triple jump and dive back up again, so that's gonna save PsioNick a little bit of time.
oh,
And
PsioNick
unfortunately,
gets the same thing.
yeah, he's matched the mistake, so not too much difference due to that mistake on the side of BusterDoggy.
And I'm interested in knowing things like, with that moon hitbox, how much leeway you really have for that triple jump, especially with both of them missing that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly a pretty tough thing. It's like having to manipulate your camera as well, since moons actually being spawned in are based on cameras. You can't quite interact with some moons unless they've been on the camera long enough. BusterDoggy's sand dram setup looks to be good. PsioNick's is awkward. He got kind of hooked up on the
Oh,
elevator. I'm not sure if his cap is going to have the proper height. He should be okay.
and it,
He's not
and it,
okay,
yep,
yeah.
yeah. Being right under that little moving platform there really hurt. But yeah, I know that someone asked in the chat earlier how they get Bullet Bill to move fast, and that's exactly what it is. It's around your second shake is where you release the button, and you just continue to shake to be able to get that boost. It's not as easy as that sounds.
No,
It does.
it's very, very tight. I've tried it before. I don't understand it at all.
It takes some timing, like we see Sonic kind of matching up there. Now this is kind of a pivotal point. We have seen runners die right here at Jaxie, because it is so tight getting up top.
First Jaxie skip does go well for both players. BusterDoggy finishing out the route here, just some standard Oasis left. Let's see if PsioNick can actually hit this Bullet Bill cycle on the rock and hard place moon. It can be a little bit difficult, and there it is. The manipulation is good for him. I've seen people fail that before, and it's kind of tough because you have to wait for another Bullet Bill spawn, but he is also on his way to the moving cactus.
See, and that's where I like sand, and I feel that it does show an accurate representation of like a runner's abilities, because it kind of has a mix of everything, right? So it's got buffering inputs, it's got movement over long distances, very accurate movement that also has you're trying to make a cycle as well, and that's not just on this level, right? So we see the entry level where used to it was what, bird first and bird last, where you're still trying to make that cycle.
Yeah, sand is an incredibly cycle-based kingdom, no matter what route you do, and there's like 3 or 4 different routes. It's quite an interesting history if you really look at it, how many times we've changed the Sand Kingdom route since release. I mean, it's gotta be upwards of 5 or 6 times at this point. But
It's kind of coming in the chat right now, not understanding how that dram failed. Yeah, it was pretty weird. With that platform there, the cap seemed like it was high enough. So yeah, that was super strange.
strange, it was 10:25 exit from Sand from BusterDoggy, so yeah, just about a 6-second difference.
See, in 6 seconds, like you said before, is a small movement mistake, or that's not big. Um, we've got some pretty decent tricks coming up here. I always liked Lake when I was running the game because I felt like Lake was kind of a break for me because it is a very short kingdom, very small kingdom. Um, if you're not doing anything like Lake Clip on the lower levels, you don't have massive things to worry about.
Yeah, I can definitely share that sentiment as I've done my runs before, but BusterDoggy gonna have a little bit more of a hard time than we did back in the day, but
Right.
his hat is clipped into the edge a little bit, but his position on Mario just wasn't quite right with the angle. I suppose he did have to go for it a few times. Now he's maintained the out of bounds and captured the checkpoint flag, but we'll see if PsioNick can kind of capitalize on those late clip mistakes.
Looks like maybe slightly faster. Maybe one or two more cap throws faster. Um, super interesting.
Yeah, I believe that was actually first try late clip on the side of PsioNick, so that's incredibly impressive, and that's going to save him some time over BusterDoggy, of course. Now, BusterDoggy's still a fairly significant amount ahead, but it's the small things, as we've mentioned throughout the race, that are going to add up for PsioNick, kind of minimizing this gap.
And I really like, honestly, you were talking about like camera manipulation in the moons. So I've always found it interesting that this moon in particular, the Buster Doggy is about to grab, is one of those moons that you can actually change the camera in Mario's animation. It's kind of unique.
Yeah, it helps you position upwards for the Rango fight if you're doing the beginner route. Otherwise, it can help you position towards this bubble that PsioNick is about to enter, and we've seen BusterDoggy exit to get this moon from the mermaid.
And just as quickly as it started, Lake Kingdom is ended. And I started speedrunning this game about a month or two after the game came out. So going through all of those initial phases of trying to find like skips and things was always kind of a big deal. So I'd like to see it now where we're skipping these brutal fights that just take forever.
Yeah, it really is cool. And as you mentioned, I similarly was involved in the speedrunning community since pretty much the beginning, very close to it anyway. And it's just really cool to kind of see the progression of like the debates of like, will sub hour ever happen? And now we're in the 57
Right.
territory, and it's just
Exactly.
incredible.
Kind of a fun fact as we're loading through here, we were at pace with Dangros and Nicrovita and all those guys when version 1.3 just randomly dropped. Nobody knew it was
Oh
coming.
yeah.
And I'll tell you, everybody was in the lab trying to figure out is 1.3 faster than 1.0 at the time. And that was a really cool timing, I guess, to be at a live event with all of these amazing runners.
Yeah, that was really cool.
J-Mail in the chat, imagine getting a sub 1.
Oh,
I mean,
couldn't be.
these guys make it look easy. What are you talking about?
Indeed, they do. Let's see if they can make Nut Clip look easy. It is coming up here rather, and they've got the Wooded out of bounds movement to finish out as well. Wooded can be a difficult kingdom, especially if you miss the Nut Clip, then you have to go for a backup route and things like that. So this is something where one seemingly small mistake can cost you way more than you feel like it should. But
Oh, for sure.
Heading up here. His out of bounds looks to be good. He just has to maintain it and get over to the maze.
Oh, and bonked. Commentator's curse there. Gonna have to go with the backup here, losing a pretty substantial amount of time. And that's where, like, the clip itself for me is not the hard part. The hard part, of course, is actually, getting the movement out of bounds afterwards.
That movement, that backup movement from BusterDoggy was incredible, though. I won't lie. And
It was
PsioNick gonna
quick.
have to go for something similar, just unable to stay inside that rock, so not losing quite as much time as BusterDoggy did. But BusterDoggy is now a little bit less ahead of PsioNick, but yeah, no, that was absolutely beautiful from BusterDoggy, and that's something that you also need to learn to be a good racer, is those backup strategies,
Right.
and he executed that beautifully.
And that's where you talked about it earlier, the difference between a racer and a good runner. Like, you can have a phenomenal PB, but if you don't know those quick backups, if you can't think quick on your feet, then in a race environment, your PB doesn't really matter.
Yeah, unless you're playing optimally, it's not gonna do anything for you. So BusterDoggy, fortunately, was able to get that back up, and that, to me, is a reason why that he's so highly placed in this race right now, and in this league.
Right now, looks like BusterDoggy is about 13 seconds or so behind on his PB. Still looking really solid, though. Like you said, if you didn't know that he missed nut clip, like if you kind of just blinked through that section, you would barely even notice a time loss. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it is important to note that he had to get that story moon there, since he wasn't able to get the moon up in that rocky section that PsioNick was. So now PsioNick's going to be ahead now, just due to that story moon cutscene time loss from BusterDoggy, unfortunately.
That's fair. And I, kind of going through, I was thinking, what could he use as a backup? And you're right. That's kind of his only option there.
Yeah, it is certainly faster than Spewart fight.
Exactly.
No doubt about that. And that's pretty much the only other moon that's kind of on the way in this route.
Yeah, JML just commented as well. The movement, watching the movement progression over the last 3 years is phenomenal. And I attribute it to these runners. Like, it's just crazy the amount that can be done now compared to what was done 3 years ago. All right.
PsioNick's pipe cycle. He looks to be good so far if he can finish it out.
Oh, no, not quite.
Now, did go for faster pipes, but didn't pay off. He's able to back it up pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, that was pretty smart to kind of jump back to get the height, get the cap bounce, so at least you can get the wall kick. BusterDoggy right on his tails, though, so we've seen a lead change, I think, at least 3 times so far, and we're only into the fourth kingdom here, the fifth kingdom, technically, if you count cap as well.
He's chilling. I think he clipped. I wasn't watching specifically his screen, but I believe he clipped out of or back into bounds after the rock moon, but because he
Yes,
still had to
I
do the
think so.
climb up to the ramp, but he didn't have to grab the story moon from the piranha plant. So I'm assuming he just clipped back in bounds after that rock moon.
So right now we're looking at BusterDoggy lost about 30 seconds against his PB, but it is literally a flight cutscene away right now from PsioNick. So still a very, very close matchup as we kind of go into the very first meeting of Bowser.
Yeah, no, fast hats here. It's not usually too much of a danger point for these runners, and PsioNick, nice Luigi hit-tart grab.
Yeah, fast hats is something that's a lot of fun to kind of play around with. She did a great tutorial on fast hats, really explaining it. And we take it for granted when you watch race after race. Just the manipulation that goes into trying to get Bowser to where you want him to go, trying to get up close to the hats. It's definitely something that you don't really want to take for granted. right? You don't want to just kind of let your muscle memory go and take over. But I think we watching all of these higher levels race it, we do kind of take it for granted of like, oh man, this is easy.
Yeah, it's certainly harder than it looks, especially trying to.
All right, Lost Kingdom here. Definitely one of my favorite kingdoms. What used to be, I mean, it's still called the meme tree, but it used to be a lot more of a deal way back in the day compared to what it is now. Love it, BusterDoggy grabbing that butterfly moon, trying to catch up. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely incredible to watch here. Both these runners moving through the Lost Kingdom very quickly. And we'll see PsioNick tag the bird here. Not quite able to land up on that upper platform, but it did work out.
Yeah, I mean, the key here, making sure that you trigger Klepto, don't get Kleptoed, is also something that you kind of take for granted. We've seen it before where, runners have just gone so fast that they didn't quite trigger Klepto, and then they pay for it in the end. PsioNick going for this triple jump here to the cage. Oh, no! That is huge. So with that last moon, taking the death there, he's got a couple options. He's going to have to go back and grab that moon, but he's going to do it very specifically so that he doesn't trigger Klepto, because Klepto is back up. Awesome backup from PsioNick. But that puts BusterDoggy right back in the lead.
Yeah, so he just dove a little bit too early underneath that moon. I mean, you can do a cap throw stall against the wall to get that a little more consistently, but it can be awfully difficult at times, and it was just good to see that he was able to, or no, it was not good, rather, to see him kind of fail that, and now that second death was intentional, by the way. Otherwise, if he dove back onto the bridge, he would have had to talk to Klepto, and that's an incredible time loss that we don't want to see. Exactly.
Going into Night Metro, now here's where we kind of see the shift in the stats to where PsioNick is definitely a lot faster through Night Metro, Day Metro, Snow and Seaside. So, I mean, BusterDoggy's got a slight lead advantage here now, but will he maintain it throughout Metro?
Yeah, Night Retro especially can kind of be a weird kingdom with things like Goomba Heck and the Town Hall movement, and of course the Mecha Wiggler fight, depending on the slight variations in cycles.
Right. All right, BusterDoggy getting Goomba'd. He came a little up close and personal with that Goomba. Gonna go ahead and grab the flag there. And it's important because in Super Mario Odyssey, where you take damage specifically, that can kind of be an issue whenever you collect the next moon. Yeah, you get your health back, but it also takes more time.
Yeah, there's just a slight health restoration animation, so it's good to restore health with a heart or a checkpoint flag in the world if possible. And the Goomba Heck is good from both players heading over onto that left side elevator. It's a tighter cycle than it looks. And BusterDoggy now out of the Town Hall, PsioNick closely behind him. The long jump and cap dive is good. Make sure to grab that checkpoint flag on the way out of the Town Hall as well, so you can warp through it later.
All right, grabbing Mecha Wiggler. We're going to be manipulating Mecha Wiggler to take the shortest path possible. PsioNick nipping at BusterDoggy's tails here. No pun intended.
If it was intended, I would have appreciated it.
Right. BusterDoggy getting a little bit too close there to where the Mecha Wiggler spawns out. Took a little bit of damage, but that should be all right.
Alright, we'll see how he deals with this final phase of the fight here. We're looking for the 2 cycle. I mean, it's very rare that a runner misses it. But these patterns can vary a little bit, especially if the Wiggler overlaps. It's kind of hard to hit all your shots, and that was kind of a beautiful backup. He wasn't quite able to hit those 2 sections there, but he only needed 1 more shot to finish it off. And CCG, maybe a slightly slower fight just because he had to take 3 or 4 extra shots at the end, but overall, he's maintaining a competitive pace for sure.
Ending up Night Metro, going to be going into day here real soon. We're going to see on the fade out what the time difference is going to be. Looks like it's going to end up being a 25-25 for BusterDoggy. And a 25-32, so 7 seconds. I mean, gosh, I don't think we've been further than 10 seconds apart this entire race. That's nuts.
Yeah, really. I mean, I love these races like this where it maintains this close pace and both racers are competitive the entire time up until Moon Kingdom. It's really thrilling to watch and commentate. BusterDoggy is going to be going for the drive-by scoop, but rather not. He's turning around now. He clipped the edge earlier. Now he has to go for the slower setup here. Let's see if CCG can save a little bit of time there, and he does. It's, of course, not going to lead to a lead swap or anything, but it is something to note here as he's kind of shortening the gap as much as he can.
Day Metro is kind of fun too because it's another one that's kind of like sand. It's not necessarily cycle based, but it's very movement based. So you're kind of all over the entire kingdom, and I like that. I feel like it's another test of, you know, just general movement.
Yeah, no doubt about it, especially as these runners are about to enter the bullet building, a relatively recent route. I mean, within the last year or so, they're going to pop into the slots machine first. But yeah, PsioNick, I just wanted to mention earlier how he got the dram strap where he captured the pylon before he grabbed the garbage moon. That saved him even a little bit more time over BusterDoggy, who had to recapture the pylon after grabbing the moon. And this is a very tight race now.
Oh no!
BusterDoggy spawns!
It's PsioNick. Oh my gosh, we're synced. We're...
Wow.
Wow. So BusterDoggy literally frames ahead at this point. Good lord. In the bullet building here. BusterDoggy's still slightly ahead. I mean, I'm talking, again, frames at this point.
Capture from both players. BusterDoggy nice. With this slight RNG time save of the bullet bill having enough height to kind of get over that ledge.
Yeah. Man, this is incredibly close, and that's what we like to see. These guys don't have a PB to kind of gawk at. A 58 is phenomenal. So, but again, it shows their experience. Oh no! PsioNick taking a second to try to figure out, okay, wait, what do I do? What do I do? What's the backup? What do I do? BusterDoggy now does have a lead going up to the top of the building here. Going to be jumping down to the pool.
Nice backflips up the Town Hall Spire for PsioNick as well. We'll see BusterDoggy try to snipe this moon on the cafe roof, and he does. PsioNick nice. Gonna be looking to match that. He just dove straight off the edge.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, taking a little bit of a time loss there with the shaken of Mario. For those that don't know, that's kind of why you take that route where you kind of land on the sign and then fall down to avoid that where you hit the ground and Mario kind of freaks out a little bit. You can also do a cap throw to mitigate that as well, but it would be just a little bit slower than just falling. And BusterDoggy still with a slight lead here in Day Metro. Now going into Snow, here's the thing. So Snow, we know that PsioNick has a better gold, but it's not by much. It's literally less than a second. The question would be consistency specifically.
Yeah, and especially with things like Snow Clip and Snow Dram, more so than Snow Clip, is uh, those tricks can be very hard. Snow Dram is more consistent just because it's more necessary for the time saves, and runners have probably practiced it more in their lifetime. But PsioNick has failed it before in the league, whereas Buster Doggy is maintaining 100% success rate.
Going into snow, we already talked about Dram. We know that that's something to look out for. What are some of the other troublesome areas you would think uh, that could kind of tie these runners up as they go through?
Potentially the Blowy Joey, as I like to call it, or canonically the Tai Fu Room. You're not necessarily going to see any deaths in there falling into the purple poison, but it can be if you miss that cycle and you aren't able to triple jump right up onto that ground pound moon, that can lose you a fraction of a second. That's going to matter inside Nick bonking into the Shiveria entrance. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. And we want to see, or well, I suppose we don't want to, but we want to see, to a degree, Buster Doggy making these small mistakes as opposed to PsioNick to kind of equal the lead out for a little bit for content purposes.
I really like the new routing here in snow as well. Kind of changing things up a little bit. Specifically, clipping here or clipping over by the either of the moon clips, I should say.
All right.
Okay.
PsioNick Snow Clip is not good. Let's see Buster Doggy hit this cycle, though, that I was mentioning just a little bit ago, and there he goes, he hits it. PsioNick needs to match this here. The setup is good as well. Although Buster Doggy dove into the spinies there, took some damage.
He did. But yeah, it's just interesting, these the sub-room specifically in snow. Going with the Goombas. I don't know, I've always found Shiveria to be a pretty cool place. Shout out to all the folks who love Bound Bowl, which we won't see in any percent, but I always thought it was a very cool concept.
Yeah, it really is, and PsioNick saved it quite a bit of time over Buster Doggy in that purple poison room due to a couple of small optimizations. His ending was slightly better, but we'll still see Buster Doggy in the lead here. They struggling to jump up onto this icicle. No ice corner clip from either of them. But PsioNick even closer than he was before. This is looking to be a tight race again.
Very, very close now, within a second of each other again.
It's just back and forth the whole time. This is really, really a very impressive race. You don't see this very often where these runners are seconds within each other the whole time.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare, except for here on CCG. It happened 2 races in a row now, which is nuts. All right, gonna go be grabbing this shop moon here.
And now we're going to enter into kind of a tougher trick called Snow Dram. You're going to have to do a roll vault off of Cappy onto the Painting Moon platform. And you can see a first-person setup that neither runner will employ, both just going for it. And they both got it. That's a really nice trick to hit. It's definitely right at the end of the kingdom. It's a high-stress moment, but it's nice to see them both hit it. PsioNick having a little bit of trouble getting onto the globe, but overall, that was a pretty solid Snow Kingdom from both runners.
Still incredibly close, and I mean, we're over halfway through this run at this point. And these guys just aren't giving up any room to each other at all, which is nuts.
Yeah, it really is, and I talk about the small things a lot, but it really is the small things in this race. I mean, Bonks heading over to the bullet building from Buster Doggy, taking damage in the spinies. It's things like that that are going to make the difference in this race, and it's actually kind of insane to me that that's truly the case this time around.
Heading into Seaside Kingdom, some new tech that's been out a few months now with Fish Clip is also super interesting. But Seaside, one of my absolute favorite kingdoms casually, because I don't know. Normally, you look at water levels and you're like, gross. I don't. This is going to take forever. I hate water levels. But this one, I think balances it really well with having in the water and out of the water ability, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and especially given that swimming in this game is fairly fast with the use of cheeps. Both runners have started off the kingdom really well as well. You can have some issues with the movement into and out of this run, but not happening for either runner. PsioNick getting a nice spin pound roll boost out. And gonna be capturing the cheap at this point. We'll see if we can see a good old chest dip, fish and dips, whatever you want to call it.
Fish and dips, I love it.
That is the name on the stats sheet, so I kind of stick with that. And there we go. The out of bounds is good for BusterDoggy. Let's see if he can maintain it. Same with PsioNick here. Oh, PsioNick not even
got
the moon. Yeah, there we go. He finally got it. Because if you move too much there, then you can clip back inbounds. You don't want that to happen. But PsioNick, unfortunately, just spending a little bit too long out of bounds there to try to get the moon. That's going to lose him a little bit of time compared to BusterDoggy. He got really nice fish and dips, but again, it's those small things that make the difference.
It is.
We'll go clip, yeah.
Alrighty. And I'm sure you remember as well before Fish Clip was even a thing. And now it's something that's pretty much consistent. Even on a beginner run, you're doing this Fish Clip right here, which we're seeing PsioNick knock into. There we go.
Yeah, I remember, dude, what even... Yeah, you just had to swim back down here and get this moon, like, in the maze. It was...
Yes.
It was a slow time.
It was super slow, so it was a big time save.
Oh, and it got rid of Notes Moon.
Yes.
That's why I was happy about it, because I hated Notes.
The notes with the rocket flower, the fire flower. Yeah, that was pretty horrible. Because it was called Rocket Flower Boost, was it not?
Yeah, and there was like a weird thing where you had to like ground pound underwater to like maintain the rocket flower for longer. It was...
Yes. Yeah, definitely happy that's gone. Fish Clip is definitely a lot easier and more consistent than trying to do that. All right, and just as quickly as Seaside came, it is gone. Going to what I call the third test of the SMO runner, which is going to be Luncheon. A little bit longer of a kingdom than what we've seen. Seaside, Snow, Lost, Lake. Those are all of your slower kingdoms. This one's a little bit longer, but there's a lot more room for errors to occur, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this Salt Triple goes well for both players, and I'm not sure if we'll see Spiritless. We've seen it go well for both of these runners most of the time. PsioNick has a Spiritless failure under his belt, unfortunately, but...
BusterDoggy going for it.
Nice. PsioNick's triple jump right off the edge looks really clean, and there it is.
PsioNick as well. So, essentially for those that don't run Odyssey, what this does is by bypassing that Speward fight, it actually makes things a little bit harder later on because you're not advancing the story in Luncheon. So we're going to see some pretty crazy movement coming up here shortly.
Yeah, it's actually really insane. You've got to do some pretty in-depth lava bounces just because the bubbles don't spawn because they're part of the story moon progression.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of smaller things that this affects other than just skipping a story moon cutscene and boss fight. Multiple different moons are obtained in this route.
So right now, about a 4 to 5 second difference between these runners. BusterDoggy maintaining that lead, trying not to give up any wiggle room, but that's kind of what PsioNick needs here at this point because neither of them are making mistakes as of right now. Hopefully no commentator's curse en route, but We're going to see these boosts.
And now into Fork Room, the camera manipulation just to get this hat thrower in a more advantageous position. A nice heart grab from PsioNick, not going to lose too much time over BusterDoggy. And BusterDoggy's Fork Room is good, and PsioNick about to finish his as well. Really nice from both players, especially with PsioNick having to get that heart up there. Very impressive.
One of my favorite rooms, just because BusterDoggy taking a bonk there at the end. not quite inside the door. Just kind of following the script here is what I think is happening. And both runners get up there. Absolutely nuts. Yeah, Fork Room is one of my favorite rooms just because it's so quick and so movement based.
Alright, nice triple jump move. Oh, unfortunately, PsioNick grabbing a white turnip before the gold one, but both turnips go in without issue. And from here on out, it can get a little tight here. We've got a jump into some invisible blocks.
Yes.
And invisible block jump, and we've seen that fail, and if you fail, you're pretty much dead. That's the neat thing about the jump.
Yeah, and you know, right now, PsioNick has been 100% so far. Looks like BusterDoggy has missed it once. So interested to see what's going to be happening here. But skipping it's crazy. All of this additional movement and things still is faster than if they would have just fought Spewart. It's nuts.
Yeah, the theory crafting and routing that this community has is a beautiful thing. Alright, we'll see BusterDoggy. He hits the block and he lands on top of it.
Perfect.
PsioNick matching that, of course, and now he's on his way behind the mountain to ground pound this moon out of the crystal. Ooh, a little bit sketchy there. Thankfully, there's some
pretty sketchy.
tangible geometry there for him to get a spin off on to buffer the spin foul.
And folks, they make it look very easy, but that is not easy at all.
No, I mean, you can't see the platform you're aiming for. There's some mild vectoring in there to get the proper distance. There's a lot of... The game's movement is beautifully in-depth, is how it can be summed up, essentially. And these runners are mastering that beautiful in-depth movement.
That's awesome. And PsioNick, with... going back to the Odyssey here, going to be grabbing the last moon here. Now this, again, in the beginner routing is not done. Typically we see this moon in like darker side runs, things like that, but not normally in any percent on like the beginner or intermediate level. But because of that Spewartless skip, puts one moon behind, and that of course is the quickest moon to grab. Alrighty, wrapping up luncheon, heading out. We're getting towards the end of this run. Both of these gentlemen's PBs are only 12 minutes from now, so pretty shocking.
Yeah, incredibly skilled gamers, no doubt about that. And now we're going to be looking at a ruined kingdom. It's not necessarily a mechanically deep kingdom. Kind of a sleeper, bit of a rest for the runners and us in the booth and you at home. Perhaps grab a snack and some water for the last two kingdoms, much higher octane than this. It also is lovingly named around here on Cool Cat Gang as the Urban Arts Kingdom, so exclamation point UA in chat. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely, and kind of another shout out as well. We're always looking for folks to help CCG grow. So if you think you would like to join us in the commentary booth, or help restream, or even just help get CCG's name out there, make sure to hit exclamation point volunteer. Fill that out, and Saren will get back to you ASAP.
Or even if you feel like you'd be a good fit for the Cool Cat Gang streaming team,
Yes.
there's a place here for you, wherever it may be.
Absolutely. Now explain this to me. Where does this dragon come from?
I like genuinely believe, like in all of Mario, this is like in my top 3 coolest characters. Like I don't understand the lore or anything like that, but like this is just one of the coolest things in a Mario game ever.
It definitely is, but it's like it's very out of place. Like, does that make sense? So like the fight, the graphics, the dragon itself. But thinking about I'm like an old man, so I've played Mario since 1694. Where does it fit in? It hurts my brain trying to make it fit in.
Doesn't fit in. It's cool.
It is definitely cool, though. I will agree with you there.
And what did the Ruined Kingdom look like before it was ruined by this dragon?
Exactly. It looked like a big giant cathedral in the sky. Maybe it's remnants of one of the old Princess Peach castles.
Maybe. That could be it.
All right, wrapping it up here in Ruins. BusterDoggy, slight lead still. Right? I'm talking, we're looking at 4, 5, 6 seconds once again. Wow.
Yeah, this less than 10 seconds into Bowser's Kingdom is absolutely insane. And Bowser's Kingdom is very tough and tight. There's going to be a lot of small sections here where it's easy to mess up and lose some time. And especially if like one runner doesn't quite hit Sarabamba in the Harriet fight, that could equalize the gap a little bit. Like there's a lot of small things that are going to make the differences in this kingdom. Or perhaps no difference will be made because these runners are just going to play that tight and close to each other. But we're going to see BusterDoggy move up to the pylon.
And as much as these guys have practiced mech, we've even seen in this league someone fall off a mech and have to try to back that up and get back up and finish. Which is not something you typically expect on this level, right? Because that's one of the things that these guys grind out over and over. But it can happen, like, a missed input or a dropped input, and you fall off the mech.
Yeah, it's an incredibly, not only a difficult thing to back up, but a costly thing to back up. That's going to be probably the biggest time difference we've seen in the race. If someone falls off of mech, that's going to cause a very large time difference comparatively to what we've seen so far with the gameplay between these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And my question is, if Bowser doesn't have Cappy, how does he get between the islands here in Bowser's Kingdom?
Well, he has his airship, right?
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, the brutal ship that he could just fly, but oh man, super inconvenient.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Nice birdless shards from both players now.
Yeah.
Just a little bit closer to that moon, but yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. Really cool movement there to not only have that hat knock the bomb into the box and spawn the shard, but also have the hat stay out long enough to collect the shard as well. It's definitely something that's pretty hard to learn. And not only all of that, but maintaining your momentum and moving the stick in a way that allows you to get towards this moon platform just a little bit faster.
BusterDoggy slight lead still. And as we pass the shop, heading up to the Brutals fight. Looks like seeing Harriet first out of BusterDoggy here.
Let's go.
And Topper first. PsioNick, yep.
Alright, Sarabamba looks to be good for BusterDoggy. That bomb is kind of spinning in the air, ready to be hit into Harriet. There it is. PsioNick, incredibly fast Topper fight, though.
Yeah, that was really, really fast. And Harriet is done. Now we're going to see both of these runners switch. PsioNick going to be starting Harriet a little bit faster than BusterDoggy starts Topper.
Star Bomba connects for PsioNick as well. He's going to be hitting that bomb towards Harriet. Short. Oh, no.
Oh, missed.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the minutiae of that trick, but it threw the bomb in such a way that it exploded once he hit it the second time. And now that's going to cause him a little bit of extra time loss, yeah, so...
I mean, because he was definitely on track to be able to take the lead from BusterDoggy. Looks like he's slightly ahead. He could have had a larger lead there. Wow.
Yeah, BusterDoggy did have an awkward topper fight there. So, PsioNick taking the lead here despite the missed Star Bomba. And now we're even closer despite PsioNick having the lead here. It is a lead swap, but not a large one at that. And right now, all eyes are on Mech Fight after this short climb up.
So it looks like here, BusterDoggy does have a better gold here in Bowser's, specifically going to Mech, almost 3-second difference. And, you know, going into Mech, there's multiple ways that you could approach Mech, but that's where it goes back to what I discussed at the beginning of the run, where you're really looking at your low risk, high reward. But, you know, if you're watching the other runner at this point, you may want to kind of risk something, you know, just to get that slight advantage, or maybe just to take that slight lead once again. Yeah. So, just slightly ahead right now. Looks like 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds, probably a second and a half.
All right. The render hit from both players. Topper acquired is good for PsioNick as well as BusterDoggy. Yeah, they're not letting up here. And, like, as you mentioned with going for the safer strat, sometimes these racers may even opt for the harder strat just because, like, if they're more comfortable with it, you know? Because it's...
Exactly.
That's another part of being a good racer, as opposed to just a good runner. If you don't know your easier safe strats, then why do that? Because you're not comfortable with them, you know? So.
Harriet is out of there.
No!
Oh, no! PsioNick falling off a Mech, that's huge. That is absolutely massive right here at the end of the race. Gonna have to wait until that Mech stops to try to get back up here. Gonna grab that bird up high.
We went for the slightly faster topper acquired ending there, where you ground pound jump out of the center as opposed to just getting thrown off for your height. And that costs them a lot of time in the end, despite being a little bit faster. And we mentioned it, maybe the safer strat was the better idea there. It's incredibly heartbreaking to watch, but...
PsioNick in the chat now. These guys won't let me catch a break. No way. I mean, 6 seconds the entire time. We're going to see the fade out here in just a moment. But it's probably 20 to 30 seconds at this point, if I had to guess. Both of these runners going into Moon. Yeah, we just recently saw this with Jambo in the last match with Moon Cave Skip. You know, kind of having some issues, and that's where the tides really turned in that match. We're kind of seeing the same unfold here, you know, just a couple of minutes prior. 54:05 exit for BusterDoggy. PsioNick. It looks like so about 19 to 20 seconds at this point, going into Moon. Now, for Moon specifically, BusterDoggy does have a better gold by about 4 seconds total with a 503 versus PsioNick's 507. And it looks like PsioNick is actually, his average has been a little bit less than BusterDoggy, so he's going to be relying on BusterDoggy to really make a mistake here, or we come up on either 2D skip or 2D skip, or whatever BusterDoggy elects to do here.
Yeah, and now, like, if BusterDoggy's watching the race, he knows, like, a 19-second lead in the last kingdom, that's really significant. He's going for a single wall jump moon skip, though, and it connects. A little bit awkward time moving up onto the bridge, but the trick overall does work out for him.
So PsioNick coming up for moon cave skip. Let's see. Also going for the same moon cave skip strat. Trying to match BusterDoggy, just clawing up to try to gain time.
Yeah, he did have a slightly faster bridge entry, so to speak. And now BusterDoggy into the Bowser fight. And yeah, we're looking at things like 2D skip right now. And I mean, maybe a weird pillars mistake, but I mean, it's got to be 17 to 18 seconds now, maybe a little bit less than that, if anything. And that's a lot of time. BusterDoggy probably looking to play really safe here. I mean, even if he doesn't attempt 2D skip, that's not going to save enough time for PsioNick
Right.
to have a lead swap here, so... While it does look incredibly in favor of BusterDoggy, anything can happen, and I say it a lot, and it sounds a little bit cheesy and overused, but I've been around here quite a while, and anything really can happen. So
it's true. We saw that just in the last kingdom, where we speculated at someone falling off a mech. We just willed it into fruition, I guess. Alrighty, wrapping up this Bowser fight. Cap slightly different from the Cloud fight, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, some extra longer phases here with Bowser having to shield himself now. Got some extra tail swipes.
Alright, and here's kind of where the rubber meets the road to see what BusterDoggy's gonna do. Is he gonna play it safe? With no risk? Is he going to have a little bit of risk, or is he just going to risk it all because that's what he knows? I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen.
I mean, we don't see 2DSS from almost anyone now. BusterDoggy has not attempted it yet in this league, and he's not going to.
Yep. Most likely just going for regular 2D skip here. Yep. So no issues there. Getting up. Everybody in chat needs to get all of their jams out here real soon. Your Cat Jam, your Saren Jam, your Mal Jam. I don't think the last two are a thing, but get out your jams if you got them. Because the bangers are coming up real soon. PsioNick gonna match that. Oop, okay. Bonk his head a little bit on the top, was able to recover, get that 2D skip to come up and try to join BusterDoggy here up in pillars. Remember, each pillar needs 5 hits total, whether it be from the fireball, whether it be from Bowser clawing at it. Really fast from BusterDoggy on that first pillar.
Yeah, these pillars are really nice from BusterDoggy.
First one's off a little bit. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. Oh, the last one was a little short. He had to get back up. That's 5. And it looks like BusterDoggy's gonna take this. Oh my gosh. What a race. What an absolute...
What a race. Yeah.
Nuts.
Sub-hour times from both players. That's still an incredible feat. Wow, yeah, that was beautiful to watch. GG's in the chat for BusterDoggy. And we'll be supporting PsioNick as well as he's jumping into the final pylon and exiting the moon cave.
so quick. I mean, like I said, I don't think these runners up until mech were like more than 10 seconds apart. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, it was truly incredible, no doubt about that.
Well, kind of looking back, at the runs themselves, um, I know that uh, we're updating the stats kind of as we go now, but not a bad run from either of the runners. Like, we had the major mistake in mech from Sonic. BusterDoggy had some smaller mistakes in the beginning, and that's what kind of compounded for BusterDoggy. Bonks in Metro, bonks in Luncheon. Like, it was just very small things. Like, I don't think I can attribute to one large thing unless I'm forgetting something. And looks like we've got both runners in the waiting room. I'm going to get them pulled up here. But we have the runners in the room right now. GG's to both of you. I don't know if you guys had heard the commentary at all, but most of the time you guys were 6 seconds apart, and you just kept changing the lead over and over.
Yeah, that's crazy.
PsioNick, I want to ask you first, because I saw you typing in chat. Mech, what happened there?
I dropped a spin pound. Not my fault.
Oh my gosh.
I was so mad. I literally screamed. You want me to recreate the scream?
Sure, go for it.
Never mind. I'm not doing it. I'm not that mad.
Super disheartening because, while your backup was like, it was fast getting back up on the mech.
It was the fastest backup I've ever done.
Right, like it was super fast getting back up there, but at that point, the lead or both of your leads were so close. Like, even a 20-second gap like that was just really hard to come back from.
I just couldn't shake him off me, dude. I couldn't do it.
Yes, it was nuts. Throughout the entire race, like I said, I think the largest lead was 6 seconds, maybe 10 at the most. But there were times where you guys were just about synced. BusterDoggy, for you, it was a lot of the smaller things, right? So it was like, there was a bonk going out of the Forge room. There was a bonk in Metro. It was a lot of the smaller things. So, what's your thought process about your performance today?
Oh, my early game was bad, like usual, so nothing new there. But thing is, my late game could have been really good if it wasn't for Snow, Bunnies, and Moon. Other than that, this could have been like a really good late game.
For sure. I mean, and I'm going to ask both of you this. Were you watching each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
I was just watching the stream you did.
Okay. I was watching with the stream on.
Got you. So
I was listening to the commentary.
Awesome.
I always do that.
And that's kind of where we were looking at if you were going to change your strats or not based upon what the other runner was doing. But there was no real gap to be able to change strats, right? There wasn't a massive amount of time that either of you had to do to catch up. And there wasn't a massive lead so that you could let up. Like, you guys were literally on top of each other most of the run up until the end.
Yeah, the only strat I did that I changed was 2DSS, obviously, because I wouldn't have done it if I was ahead.
Yeah, that's the first time you've done that in this league, right?
Really? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Going back and looking at the stats, it looks like it, and it seemed to work out for you as well. Dry, what questions do you have for these runners?
Yeah, so, I mean, as you mentioned, the mech fight, really unfortunate. I just want to point out, like he said, not my fault. If you're not familiar with Odyssey and playing it a lot, it really wasn't his fault. I can attest to that. It is the Nintendo Switch. That's just a Mario Odyssey moment. And that's incredibly horrible to lose a run like that. But yeah, really, like we mentioned, it's an incredibly close race, and to see something like that, it's really exciting. And just in context of the league now, BusterDoggy, of course, you were 3-2 heading into this, and now you're 4-2, so your win rate's looking really nice. And on the side of PsioNick, you're now taking your 4th loss here. Do you have any opinions on your standings within the league? How you want?
Hell, I have a lot of opinions. Okay, so last week, basically this almost like same exact race with like how close it was, happened between me and Jambo. I just couldn't shake him off me. Well, the entire time he was pretty much ahead of me, and at the end he made like a big mistake in Bowser's, and I almost beat him, but I missed one wall jump mood skip, and he beat me by like 0.4 or something.
Oh my gosh.
I think I may have commentated that one, or at least watched it, because I remember something like that happening.
Yeah, I don't remember, but
oh yeah, I think that was actually 0.27, if I remember correctly, was the win time, if I'm not mistaken. Saren can correct me, but going forward, like obviously this is you guys are fairly evenly matched here with PBs very close. What do you guys, or what do we expect to see from you throughout the rest of the league?
For me, I won't lose again. I said that last week, but I also said that I was gonna let myself lose once. I also said I was gonna have that loss be Stravos, but I'm gonna win against Stravos, I guess now.
That's fair.
Here we go.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, you're still top. Like, we need to be top 8 to move on to the final bracket after these 11 weeks of the group stages. Yeah, I mean, you're 8th place right now, of course, and you'll gain some points from this race because the time difference was very, very close. So
it was super close.
Yeah, quite a few points will be handed out your way. And BusterDoggy, I mean, you're 6th place now in the league. You're pretty comfortably maintaining your standing now, taking your 4th win, going to be having into the 300s for points now. How do you feel about your standing within the league? Are you feeling a little bit relaxed, but do you want to be a little complacent? Like, what are you thinking right now?
I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I just need to make sure that I don't do like,
I heard someone
yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
So I feel like if I just don't go for like any risky strats in the next upcoming races, I'll be fine. I just need to be like smart about the strats I go for, and I should be able to get like at least low 59s, maybe high 58s, which should be good enough.
And consistency is key. I mean, that's what we've seen throughout all of the leagues, period. You know, as long as you can maintain that consistency. We talked about going for more of those high risk strats that you're more comfortable for, and I'm sure we're going to continue to see that from you. Well, good. Thank you very much to the runners once again for providing such quality entertainment, being so close. 2 matches in a row. That's going to be kind of wrapping it up for us here at CCG today, but don't worry, you need to first check out the runners, !runners. Check out both of these guys as they're practicing. We will be back tomorrow with some more SMO Any League action. First match is going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be XXX versus Sledge, so you don't want to miss that. Dry, it's been great hanging out with you in the booth. Hopefully we can do it again, and really happy that we got to commentate such a phenomenal race.
Yeah, of course. It was phenomenal to watch, and just another
adrenaline pumping.
Yeah,
very much so.
Certainly, I can only imagine. Yeah, in the gaming chair. But yeah, just another note on the schedule thing. Then the 2 matches tomorrow. The second would be at 3:30, Speed versus Lightron. Then this Saturday, 10 a.m., the Minecraft Glitchless Tournament, where we'll be having runners race through all 3 versions of the Minecraft's Any Random Seed Glitchless Speedrun. So that'll be very exciting this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Have that on in the background all day.
Well, perfect.
Wait, I have one more question for Buster. What luncheon did you get?
Got a 555 with that ball.
Dude, I got a 555 too.
Oh my god.
Dude, I couldn't even shake a ball with a 555 luncheon because he matched mine with a ball.
Match for match. That's nuts.
Oh my god.
That's nuts. Well, GG's again, once again to the runners. We're going to be signing off here. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern for that SMO Any action. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening.